Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are virtual still in the Business RadioX studio in Alpharetta. No, not inside Renaissance Bank, but we still love Renaissance Bank because they have done an amazing job with a whole bunch of folks on PPP loans and other activities that they're doing. And I'm giving them kudos. I've worked with them with several of my clients personally, and I know this personally, folks. So check them out. If you're looking for a different experience in banking, go check them out. The branches are open through the drive-through. They are open to go in, but you have to make an appointment to go in. So call them ahead. Call ahead. Or if you need to figure out where the nearest location is, just go to renaissancebank.com. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome an old friend, Mark Hayes. Mark is with Mark Hayes Consulting. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, sir. What a pleasure to be here. Always nice to see you.
It's always nice to see you. I'd rather see you in person, but, we do what we have to do, right?
We're improvising, adapting and adjusting.
I know. And before we started, you asked me if we were doing video. I'm like, this video is your deal. So that's not my deal. It's your deal. So tell everybody with that intro, that doesn't know you, what few people that don't, tell them about you and what you do. Tell them about your background.
So I did 28 years of television news as a news anchor, reporter, journalist, and finally left the business at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018 with nothing but a bleeding heart. It was an amazing 3 decades, loved what I did, but I was just tired. But I always knew that when I left the business, I wanted to be able to help other people tell their stories, help them prepare to go on television and be effective and communicate effectively and let people know, exactly why they were there. John, I was always amazed at how many times during the week people would show up for a broadcast and not be prepared. And so I made it a mission a long time before I left television to say, okay, when I'm done, I'm going to help people be prepared, produce their segments, understand, how to get that message across clearly, concisely, with class, and succinctly, and do it in a way that's memorable, right? Because what good is a great story if you can't remember it? It obviously was not a great story, but there are lots of people out there who have great stories and are not telling them well, or are not telling them at all. So what we do at marquezconsulting.com is we help you organize your thoughts. We help you organize your messaging. We help you tell your story with pictures, and then we help you get it out there. For example, just last Friday, one of our clients is a nonprofit on the west side of Atlanta, and they were handing out masks and PPE to many of the west side residents who were walking around like it was just a normal spring day. And so they went out there to make a difference.
Right.
And, especially during the pandemic, now is when you want to be telling those stories. So, we got some amazing video of some great interactions with the team from Quest interacting with the residents thanking them for taking the time to come out and check on their well-being and doing something for the community. Because, John, I think when this is all over, if you can't tell a story about how you made a difference during this unprecedented time, it's going to be tough for you to woo people, especially new faces. But more importantly, the people who are used to doing business with you are going to look at you and say, why couldn't you do more? And you want to be able to tell the story that's positive, that's difference making. And you want to be able to tell it clearly and concisely so people understand and so it's memorable.
Yeah. And there's several things I want to get into there. I mean, but the theme of our show and what we're talking about today is communicating in a pandemic. One of the issues that's going on right now is there is a lot out there for people to consume. Now, people are consuming a lot of news for obvious reasons because they want to keep up with what's going on with the pandemic itself and the spread and hopefully the control of it and what have you. But there's a whole lot of, I guess the volume has gotten turned up on social media. Mm-hmm. So how do you break through that?
Right. So, John, I think the key is, and for me, let's just get this out of the way. The term fake news is basically a slap in the face, for a journalist and for someone who spent as much of my life as I did in the trenches and newsrooms, trying to tell good stories, trying to illuminate the good in our society. Now, guilty as charged. We don't tell a lot of good stories. We tell far more bad stories than we do good. But we never sit around and make stuff up. So the term fake news just drives journalists crazy. So the fact that phenomenon has taken over our industry and been just a dark cloud hovering over it is really frustrating for us because we know how hard we work.
Sure.
So the key, for folks out there who are looking for the truth is to find trusted sources, credible sources, that are going to have, the credibility behind them, but also the reputation of years and years of experience and years of bringing you nothing but the truth. And because here's the thing, if you rode by one of the local television stations today and you saw a line full of well-dressed men and women standing there with briefcases, you might think that there's an issue because those are going to be lawyers to sue the television station, right? Because their clients have all had stories made up about them.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing television stations have during normal times is lots of money, right? So it's an easy target. You make something up. Well, I remember the first time I was deposed, and it was a frightening feeling when that man, it was when the restaurant inspections stories were huge. You walk in, the dirty restaurants, the dirty dozen.
Right.
And we had the government sourced information. This was information the government provided from us. Mm-hmm. So we had the truth on our side, but they didn't like the way the story was told. And I get it. I understand why. So, if we were sitting around making up stories, again, every lawyer in town would be looking for clients to sue a TV station because they can write checks. And so, finding those credible sources, finding people you trust is the key. Now, here's the other thing. You can always get off social media and with the Google machine, go find any bit of information that you'd like. Mm-hmm. So the onus is on you as well. But we've become so tribal in our media consumption. It's really clouded the process. It's, because who thought that science would become a political issue? I never imagined that we could put a political spin on health issues, on a virus. I mean, no one asks me when I go to get treated, by the doctor, what my political affiliation is, because that's going to determine the kind of treatment I get. That no one asked me that. No one told me I'm going to live longer because I pulled the red lever or because I pulled the blue lever. No, that should not matter.
Sure.
What should matter is saving lives and us being able to consume information that helps us live longer. I mean, the doctors and the scientists, you think they want television cameras in their face? That's the last thing, scientists and doctors and researchers want.
Right.
They shun the camera. They
Sure.
don't want to be around the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they do want to be respected for their craft. They've put in a lot of time. They're good at what they do. I mean, Dr. Fauci, for example, has served 6 different presidents. The man is very good at what he does and has proven himself time and time again, decade after decade. So, the key is to find the the trusted, credible sources. Nothing is more frightening than what happened in Arizona to that couple who got some bad information and drank the poison. The husband ended up dead, the wife in the ICU, but they heard it somewhere and, took it as gospel. And that's the kind of stuff. That's why this is dangerous. That's why the fake news term is so dangerous. And it's pitting us against each other more and more as a society. And as a corporation, you don't turn away people who are blue leaning or red leaning when you are looking for customers and business partners. The only color that matters to entrepreneurs is green.
Right.
So
that crosses all lines.
Exactly. Exactly. And if it helps you reach your goals and reach your sales numbers, then what difference does it make? As long as it's the truth and as long as you feel like what you're doing is reputable and for the greater good. And so that's a long answer to saying, I'm going to put the onus on myself to find these trusted sources, credible sources, and get the information I deserve. And if I don't think I have enough information, well, then I'm going to hit the Google machine and find the information I need.
Now, Mark, in terms of the way business owners think about their communication, given the fact that we're in an environment where there's not a lot of trust in institutions, and actually small businesses and medium-sized businesses probably have the best of it when it comes to the reputational, in terms of the surveys I've seen anyway. But still, we're in an environment where people don't trust all that they see. So if you're a business owner in that environment, you're trying to communicate your message. How do you do that?
Yeah. It all starts with, understanding who you are as a brand and then building that brand in a positive manner. And it's not just what we do, but it's that feeling that we create, because the feeling we create is what's memorable, right? Like, people may not remember everything you said to them. Like, I've had some great customer experiences with different companies and different service providers. What I remember is the feeling. It's why I recommend them. And I don't remember exactly what was said during each and every conversation, but I remember feeling good about that introduction. I remember feeling good about the way I was treated. When you go into a Chick-fil-A, you feel good when you leave because your order is right.
Right.
Like, I don't know anyone that's ever gone to a Chick-fil-A and gotten home and been mad as all get out.
Yep.
Because they always get it right. And they always treat you with respect. And they always have a smile on their face. And so it's that feeling that your brand creates and that memorable experience that helps you formulate who you are. Because it's also the passion behind why you do what you do. I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Truett Cathy on several occasions. And, that man practiced what he preached. The scholarship money they provide, Sundays off, quality ingredients, quality product, quality customer service. Have you ever seen a Chick-fil-A that wasn't pristine? When you drive through the drive-through, the signs are clean. They're all immaculate. They all look brand new. And it's about the quality. And that's what he preached. And that's what he demands. I have a friend that's now an owner of 2 franchises. And you wouldn't believe the hoops he had to jump through to get that franchise. But it's about the quality. It's about making sure they have quality owners that are going to prescribe, that are going to adhere to the strict standards and keeping that brand and reputation at the level that they've created and where they want it to be. And, Chick-fil-A is one of the best examples that you can have. Coca-Cola, you get that feeling. Lexus, the same thing. You go into a Lexus dealership for a car repair, which is like the worst, like having a tooth pulled, like having wisdom teeth removed. I mean, a car repair is like a nightmare these days.
Sure.
But you go into the Lexus dealer, they got the beautiful couch there. It's like a home theater. They give you the water. They make you feel as good about that experience as you possibly could when you know you got to plunk your credit card down at the end. So it's all about creating that experience, but understanding who you are, and the passion behind why you do what you do is critical. And once you identify those points, then you go start and finding examples to illustrate. Right? Then you go, that's how you get your testimonial. That's how you get the pictures of like the example I was telling you about earlier, out in the community, interacting with people. Everybody in that neighborhood knows the Quest name because people know that they're there to help. They know where they can go if they're in need. And so then you start illustrating those examples, because anymore, we don't read as a society anymore, but we'll watch a video. We'll watch a 2-minute video, a 3-minute video.
Right.
But we don't remember those long emails we used to get. You'd read a 2-page email to get to the punchline.
Right.
Not anymore.
Right. Yeah.
If it's not in the window, the body of the email, we're deleting it.
Right.
So when you illustrate those feelings, is how you start to connect and resonate with the people that you want to patronize your business. Right.
So, Mark, I'm curious about then how you counsel business owners, because and how you work with them, because you work with them on their imaging, on their branding, how they deal with media in a number of different ways, whether that's traditional media, social media, what have you, digital media. How do you work with them when it comes to these characteristics that are on the ground? I mean, do you're talking about how Chick-fil-A works and how they work in terms of the customer experience. Is that something you help business owners evaluate and then understand what aspects of that they should highlight? How does that work for you?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we look at what we do well, right? Because that's where we always start. And then we look at the things that we have to improve on too. But for the immediate gratification, which is always where it seems that we are in business, we look at the things that we do well, and then we start to try to figure out how to illustrate them best. And a lot of times with CEOs and senior management, you have to get them to understand that, this is critical. Like our marketing and our storytelling, our brand storytelling about what we do is key to our success. Because if we're not telling our story, no one else is, right? And so a lot of CEOs especially my clients, have to get past the shameless self-promotion aspect of social media, because they see it as kind of the Kardashian effect, right? It's like, well, I'm not a Kim Kardashian. Why would I post a selfie, right? Well, if you're out, doing good, of course you want to post a selfie, right? And tell the story about it. If you're out, building a home for Habitat for Humanity and you're out there banging nails, of course you tell that story. So they have to get past their preconceived notions about social media, because it's not just traditional media anymore. Everything is an opportunity for you to promote your brand and your business. And, getting over that hump is tough for a lot of CEOs. I have one client right now, and I basically broke him down, and we went all the way back to the beginning. And he is a minister, a pastor, and he owns an IT company. And he's promoting his latest book that was out. And I said, we've got to get back to the beginning. We've got to get back to the roots. Number one, of why you do what you do. Number two, how, your religious conviction works into your business model and what you do to earn the money to be able to do these great things that you do socially. And so we got back to preparation. because preparation is key. You know, if you're going to, like, I had a plan when I went out to shoot the video for my nonprofit client. You know, when my IT client had a television interview, I said, we have to have a plan, right? We're not just going to show up at the studio and start talking. We've got some very clearly thought out points that we'd like to make during this interview. And we've got some talking points, and we've got some examples to back up the points that we want to make. So you have to go into every interaction with a plan. And to me, that's one of the biggest things about communicating effectively that I hear business leaders really want. They just didn't know they wanted it, because it makes total sense. I had a Fortune 500 client that wanted me to come in and help them deal with their interaction between their middle management and their senior leadership. Well, they didn't want to talk to each other, right? And it's because they didn't know what they wanted to talk about. It sounds silly, right? At a Fortune 500 company, you know, one of these large, successful, autonomous entities. You're like, how did they get so successful not talking to each other? But they didn't have a plan. So if you have a meeting, you know, with one of your team members, you know, you have to know who that team member is, know what they do, understand who they are, so you can connect with them. If you can't connect, you can't motivate. And so as leadership, you know, it's incumbent upon you to be able to connect with those that you manage, so that you can be more effective as a leader, and they can be more effective understanding what you want from them, making all of us more successful.
Folks, we're speaking with Mark Hayes, and Mark is an ex-journalist and head of his own firm, Mark Hayes Consulting. Mark, I am curious what you would say to that business owner that says, hey, my friend, it's too late. I've already screwed up. I mean, you know, I've got a misstep I've got to recover from. I'll give you an example. I'm not trying to pick on the Lakers, but when the Lakers take a PPP loan, right? Yeah. You know, that's kind of a misstep, right? I mean, right. I think they admitted it by giving it back. Right. But I'm just using that as an example, and I'm not picking on the Lakers, and I don't want any emails from Lakers fans, so get off my back. Right. But just, but what do you say to that business owner that says, Mark, I've messed up. How do I recover?
Right. Right. Well, first of all, you know, the good thing is that these news cycles don't last long, right? So you know that it's not going to stick with you for a very long time. And then here's the thing you do is you counterbalance a story like that with the good that you do in the community. Because, you know, you think about the Lakers and all the goodwill that was being pushed their way because of the tragic loss of Kobe. And then you mess it up with a $4 million PPP loan that, you know, 20 small businesses in the greater Los Angeles area could use and need.
Sure.
That, you know, that's really like a kick in the mouth to those businesses. So what you've got to do now is get back up on the horse and start riding for the community again. Start doing great things for the community. I mean, you're a franchise that's worth what, $3.5–4 billion. Okay, I think you're going to be okay for a couple of months.
Right.
You're going to make it through this. Right?
Yes.
But there are restaurants, you know, on the south side of LA that may not, that need that kind of money. So, you know, you look for a way to reach out and find a way to give. You know, and it's one of those things where living is giving. And so when you start to give back, it's what people will start to remember and start to talk about. And that $4 million will be a thing of the past. I mean, what's $4 million going to do for the Lakers anyway?
Right.
You know, I get it. It keeps, you know, some of the support staff employed and the folks who really keep things running in the Staples Center. But, you know, $4 million for the Lakers is really not a lot. It's not a difference maker for them, but it is for so many others in the community. So acknowledge it, you know, do something good, and then move on.
Mark, we're talking about how to communicate in a pandemic, and I want to get back to this issue of noise and how you break through, because there is a lot. If I just looked on LinkedIn, which is really the place for business generally, there's a lot more traffic. There's a lot more in the LinkedIn feeds, a lot more people with video. So how do I stand out with my business in that barrage?
Yeah. Well, this is the first time in our generation that we've experienced the pandemic or anything of this scale. I mean, 9/11 threw us for a loop, but it didn't last as long as this had. And what other major events? The space shuttle, Columbine, those kinds of events came and went in relationship to what we're dealing with now. So the way to stand out with your message is relentless consistency. You can't just get on it on Monday and then, drop something else on Thursday. It's Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Monday evening. It's Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. It is relentless persistence and consistency that helps you stand out and develop that following that you're looking for. There is no substitute. I don't care how good your content is. If you're not putting it out consistently, no one cares, because it's the one-off. I mean, I talk about the Kardashian effect a lot, because she basically wrote a book on how to brand yourself and expose yourself, no pun intended, on social media. But she literally got carpal tunnel from using her phone so much and posting so much, because they get it. They understand how important that social media consistency is. And that's what helps you build the brand and develop the following. Now they can do anything. Everything they put out, their supporters support.
Right.
Because they've got a loyal following, because the people are loyal because they know on Tuesday when they wake up, Kim's got a new post. Courtney's got a new post. The momager got a new post. Everyone is posting consistently, and they trust you because they know they know what to expect when they come to a Kardashian Twitter account or a Kardashian IG. They know it's going to be elegant. They know it's going to be something they need in their lives because they've created this cultural phenomenon. And that's what you almost have to do, if you're a hardware store in a local neighborhood. You get on your Facebook and your IG, and right now you can, those Facebook ads, you can direct them at your particular area code. So when people start seeing you and seeing you and seeing you and seeing you, they know they can start to trust you. And that's the one piece of advice that I would give anyone trying to promote their brand, is the relentless consistency.
And you mentioned a word there that seems small, but when they see you, I want to veer toward personal branding, and how, because that's really what the Kardashian brand is. It starts with a personal brand, and then it branched out into product or service or other things, we'll say. And to what extent should a business owner be concerned about their personal brand, build their personal brand in order to build their business?
I think the personal brand is huge, because it says so much about the corporation that you're leading. When we think of, premier personal brands, and then the corporations they're associated with, like a Mark Cuban, we understand the personal brand behind Mark Cuban and how passionate he is about social justice issues and different community issues. And I lived in Dallas, so I get it, but it also kind of endears you to the Dallas basketball team. It brings you to the franchise because you're following, his personal passion. Love him or hate him, Mark Zuckerberg's another one. You look at the personal brand, whether it rubs you the wrong way or not, you're still kind of like, what's this Facebook thing about? I'm still on it. I may not be a big fan, but I'm still on it because it gives me this benefit. I see this value in it. It may be just for keeping in touch with high school friends, or it may be for business. But that personal brand is one of the things that we think when people say Facebook, they say Zuckerberg, right? So the personal brand is huge when it comes to that connection that you have, like your favorite pizza place, Mama's Pizza over in Alpharetta, near the old North Point Mall. Well, the North Point Mall. It's not old; it's still there. The owner of Mama's Pizza was such a personality there. Everybody over there knew him because he'd greet you. He'd come out to the table. You know, he'd have your kids sit down. Kids couldn't run around in the restaurant, and he had a relationship so much so with his customer base that I'd say 80% of his wedding guests were customers at Mama's Pizza. Like everybody I talked to at the wedding was a customer. And so when you start establishing that personal brand, it's only going to bleed over into Mama's. So it's one of those things that you have to be cognizant of. You know, you can't go out here and do crazy things and expect it not to affect your corporate relationships and the businesses you're related. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with social media fails, where a personal brand, you know, and has impacted negatively, you know, the business entity. And that's one of the things, you know, it's why we have morals clauses in television news. It's you know, it's why when these athletes are involved in these scandals, you know, they often don't end well for the athletes. They end up with lost endorsements because the companies don't want that negative affiliation. They want the positive brand image linked with theirs.
Well, Mark, this has been great. I want to get into, before in the time we have left, I want to make sure people understand, number one, how you work with businesses, the kind of companies that you work with, and tell everybody about that piece of what you do.
Yeah, so I work with anyone who needs to be telling their story, pretty much. I've got an IT company, nonprofits, and it all comes down to, you know, how do you want the public and your customer base to see you? What kind of content do you want to create? What kind of story do you want to tell? And it becomes a very personal exercise, and it's hard work for some people. And you know, you got, a lot of times you've got to have someone who can help you put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's basically what I do. Is I help you get out of your own way. I help you see what's good. I help you not be so negative in those conversations with yourself. And that's a lot of times what gets people over the hump and starts helping them understand how their brand image can help them soar to new heights. Because, you know, when you start really connecting with people and helping them understand that what they're doing is for good, there are people that appreciate what they do. It really, really impacts them in such a positive way. Like I've had conversations with people where I can feel them smiling through the phone, and you know, and it's about more than just a client customer relationship. It's more like becoming family and helping them see, yeah, you know, you're not perfect, but no one is. No family is. But share the story, share the positive impact that you're making, and watch the return come back. And you know, my Quest family is a perfect example. I mean, just seeing people walk up to them and recognize their shirts and their signs, and greet them with thank yous and well wishes and, saying we thought people forgot about us.
Mm.
And, John, you and I, it's hard for us to imagine feeling forgotten about, right? We suburban living, we've
Sure.
had good careers,
Mm-hmm.
but when someone walks up to you, they're hustling, they're trying to make it, they're just trying to get through this day, and they can reach out to you and say thank you, for making a difference in my life. The smallest things, tend to magnify themselves, and it's a rewarding feeling. It's about helping others is always such a gratifying opportunity. And that's why I really do what I do. It gives me the opportunity to help others. And I couldn't enjoy it more. I really could not enjoy it more.
No, that's awesome, Mark. So this has been great, and really appreciate you coming on and helping us out with some of these issues. It's a tough time for a lot of folks. So, for those that would like to be in touch with you and maybe sit down and talk to you about their own situation, probably through Zoom right now, right?
Exactly.
But tell them how they can be in touch with you.
Sure. I'm at markhayesconsulting.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as Mark Hayes. And you will also see me in November at, God willing, in November on the TEDx stage in Woodstock at Dupree Park in Woodstock, Georgia. So I've got a TEDx event, and I'm going to be speaking about the circle of forgiveness. So I'm excited about that. But I'm on all the platforms, on Twitter and on Facebook as Mark Hayes and Mark Hayes Consulting. So I'd love to chat with you. And, maybe my services aren't right for you, but I'd love to point you in the right direction that can definitely help you move your brand forward and tell your story. And if I'm not right for you, I would love to get you to who is. And, that's what it's all about. It's about doing something that you love and something that helps other people be successful too.
For sure. Awesome stuff from Mark Hayes Consulting. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Thanks again for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be with you. Folks, just a reminder, you can listen to this show on all the major podcast platforms. That would include Apple, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I have yet to be stumped on this front in terms of a podcast app you can't find us on. We're at North Fulton Business Radio. Just use that search term. And if you want to just get on your phone or desktop and go to northfultonbusinessradio.com, that works as well. So you can find our entire archive of shows. We've had, we're up to now 220 something shows and going on 500 guests that we've had over these last 4 years. I think I got that right. 4 years. It's been a while, but we've had a good run, and it's even in a pandemic, it's a great time to be in North Fulton with all the great people that we have around here, like Mark. And just check out that archive. It's a great resource. You can also find us on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We're North Fulton BRX. So for my guest, Mark Hayes, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.